Jack was busy going through some important documents in his office when his phone suddenly buzzed. An anonymous message popped up with a short but chilling sentence. Giang is in danger. She's being hunted. If you don't act, it might be too late. Jack's heart skipped a beat. He froze for a moment, staring at the words, trying to stay calm, but worry had already crept into his eyes. Giang, his former assistant, had once been an essential part of his work, and at times, even touched something deeper in his emotions, though there had never been love between them. She had always silently supported him, and even once helped him escape a hidden scheme in the company. A secret Jack had never told anyone. Now she was in trouble, and Jack's instincts wouldn't let him look away. Immediately, Jack opened his laptop and accessed a private monitoring system he had set up to track certain sensitive relationships within the company. Giang's name was no longer appearing on her usual movement routes. That only increased his anxiety. He called a few old contacts from his security team, people who had helped him investigate covert matters in the past, but most of them avoided the question or said they had no idea where Giang was. That made Jack even more certain that something serious was happening. That night, Jack couldn't sleep. He sat in front of his digital map, piles of documents, and a list of people connected to Giang. He reviewed everything, from her business partners, the projects she had worked on, to those who held grudges against her. Slowly, one name stood out, Tuan Mo, a man Giang had refused to work with in a shady deal. He had even threatened her not long ago. Tuan was infamous for being ruthless, secretive, and backed by a powerful underground network. Jack knew he couldn't wait any longer. He began crafting a plan to rescue Giang. He created a fake business trip cover to a distant province, rumored to be where Tuan was hiding. On his phone, Jack saved the number of an old friend, Min, a private intelligence expert who had once helped Jack during a dangerous situation. Min would now assist him in reaching the target without raising suspicions. The plan was carefully laid out. Jack would pose as an investor looking for opportunities in Tuan's area. Min would monitor everything from a distance and be ready to step in if things went south. But Jack understood one thing clearly. One wrong move, and not only would Giang be in grave danger, but he might also be caught in the crossfire. He hadn't acted yet. The rescue hadn't begun. But in Jack's heart, a fire of responsibility was slowly burning. Though Giang had made mistakes that once hurt and confused him, he couldn't leave her alone in the hands of ruthless men. That afternoon, soft sunlight spread across the small garden in front of Jack's house. He stood by the window, holding a cup of tea, his eyes distant, clearly deep in thought. After many sleepless nights, he had finally decided to invite Tu Tien and her father over for dinner, not just to show his respect, but also to share something he had kept to himself these past few days. Around 6 p.m., the small gate creaked open. Tu Tien arrived in a simple dress, her gentle smile tinged with a trace of concern when she saw Jack's serious face. Behind her was Mr. Bok, Tu Tien's father, a calm, experienced man who always kept a level head no matter the situation. Jack warmly greeted them and invited them in for the meal he had carefully prepared that afternoon. Dinner was cozy and intimate. The dishes Jack had cooked weren't fancy, but they were full of care. A light vegetable soup, braised fish with pepper, and a few other simple favorites that Tu Tien used to love as a child. Mr. Bok nodded in approval, while Tu Tien occasionally glanced at Jack, sensing something he wasn't saying. After the meal, Mr. Bok stepped out into the garden for tea, leaving Jack and Tu Tien in the living room. The soft golden light highlighted Jack's solemn expression. He sat quietly for a moment before finally speaking. "Tien, there's something important I need to tell you." Tu Tien sat up straight, watching him closely. "Go ahead. I'm listening." Jack took a deep breath. "I received word that Giang is in danger. Someone's hunting her down, trying to kill her. I don't know who exactly is behind it, but if I wait too long, she might not make it." Tu Tien froze for a second. She knew Giang, Jack's former assistant who had once harbored feelings for him. Someone who had once made her feel uneasy. But now, hearing that Giang was in danger, her emotions were hard to define. She looked at Jack and asked calmly, "So, what are you going to do?" Jack met her eyes. "I'm going to find her. I'm going to rescue her. I know it's dangerous, and I know you may not be okay with it, but I can't just sit back and do nothing." Tu Tien lowered her gaze, hands clenched together. A breeze drifted in through the open window, carrying the scent of jasmine. She stayed silent for a moment before softly asking, "Is it because she once helped you?" "Not just that," Jack replied, "but because if I walk away now, I won't be able to live with myself." Tu Tien nodded gently, her eyes filled with quiet sadness but no anger. "I understand. I won't stop you if this is something you feel you have to do. Just promise me you'll come back safe." Jack took her hand and gave it a light squeeze. "I promise." At that moment, Mr. Bok returned from the garden and had caught part of the conversation. He didn't try to stop Jack. Instead, he placed a steady hand on Jack's shoulder and said, "Be careful. Sometimes, saving someone isn't just about kindness, it's a test of fate." Jack bowed his head in gratitude. That night, as he stood by the gate watching Tu Tien and her father disappear down the quiet road, his heart was filled with a storm of emotions. Duty, worry, and a deep sense of conflict. He knew, from this moment on, nothing would ever be the same again. The next morning, the sky was overcast, thick gray clouds blanketing everything, a foreboding sign of a dangerous journey ahead. Jack packed a small backpack with essentials, a few personal items, a phone encrypted for security, a notebook, and his father's old wristwatch, a keepsake he always carried into serious missions. He stood before the mirror, eyes filled with determination, though deep inside, a quiet worry lingered. Before leaving, Jack sent a message to Tu Tien, "I'm heading out. Don't worry. Just trust me." Then he got in his car and set off toward the outskirts, where Giang was believed to be hiding. Tu Tien sat by the bedroom window, clutching her phone tightly. She had read Jack's message multiple times, but couldn't calm her nerves. She kept thinking about the look in his eyes the night before. Firm, but quietly troubled. That look haunted her. From morning to noon, she checked her phone repeatedly, hoping for another message. But nothing came. "I should have gone with him," she whispered to herself. But she knew this was Jack's decision, and her presence might only complicate things. Giang was being hunted by a violent underground group. If Jack wasn't careful, he might never come back. On the road to Giang's hiding place, Jack avoided main highways, taking narrow, unmonitored back roads. He was certain the people after Giang were also tracking his every move. Every step felt watched. In a small town near the forest, Jack stopped at a roadside diner to meet Lam, a former investigative journalist who had once exposed criminal syndicates. Lam slipped him a small piece of paper with a handwritten note. Giang is hiding in an abandoned lumber camp, 12 kilometers northwest. Be careful. They're watching me too. Jack nodded in thanks and left immediately. All that mattered now was getting Giang out alive, no matter the cost. Back home, Tu Tien visited Jack's mother. The older woman welcomed her kindly, but with concern in her eyes. Tu Tien helped her cook and tidy the house, trying to soothe her own anxiety. She didn't tell her about Jack's mission, only said, "Jack's on a business trip. He asked me to check in on you." That night, Tu Tien sat outside under the faint stars. She remembered how Jack had always protected her, his steady hands, his honest words. Now, while he was out there in danger, her heart ached. "Please, come back safe," she whispered, tears silently falling. Jack reached the old lumber camp by dusk. The place was deserted, surrounded by dense trees. He scoped the area carefully. Everything was eerily quiet, save for the rustling leaves. Suddenly, a faint sound came from behind. Jack turned swiftly, hand on the knife hidden in his coat. A familiar figure emerged, Giang, disheveled and dirt-streaked, but her eyes still sharp. "Jack," she gasped. "How did you?" "No time," Jack cut in. "We have to leave. This place isn't safe." Giang started crying, but nodded. They slipped away into the forest, following a path Jack had mapped earlier. But after a few hundred meters, flashlight beams flickered behind them. Someone was on their tail. "Run!" Jack pulled Giang into the trees. They dashed through the underbrush, dodging lights and footsteps. Sweat poured down Jack's face, heart pounding, but he didn't stop. That night, Tu Tien lay in bed but couldn't sleep. She held the necklace Jack gave her close to her heart, trying to feel his presence. She had messaged him several times, but there was no response. Her worry grew unbearable. She stepped onto the balcony. The moon was pale. Her silhouette cast a soft shadow as she whispered, "If anything happens to you, I'll never forgive myself." After hours of fleeing, Jack and Giang reached a small, abandoned cabin deep in the woods. Giang collapsed from exhaustion. Jack stayed on guard the entire night, listening for any signs of pursuit. He knew the mission wasn't over. They weren't safe yet. Finally, he was able to send a short message to Tu Tien. "I'm okay. Don't worry. Talk soon." Tu Tien received the message just before dawn. Tears welled in her eyes, spilling over. Her heart lifted just a little, but it still clenched tight, knowing this was only the beginning. In that deep forest, Jack sat beside a small fire, staring into the distance. His heart whispered silently, "Wait for me, Tu Tien. I'll come home. No matter what."